Today, we're going to talk about the new generation configuration tool. Joining us today are VP of Business Development and Marketing, as well as Managing Director Danny. Also joining us are Managing Director Bernhard, also known as Bernie. Thanks for taking the time out to join this discussion today.
My pleasure.
Very welcome.
All right. A few weeks ago, camLine released some news about this NGC tool, short for New Generation Configuration. What can you tell us about this?
The motivations of the tools is to help multi-site manufacturing company when it come to manufacturing software update like MES. Software update may not be sounds complicated in most of the cases, but for highly configurable modular system like MES, it is often challenging to update locals and global configurations with minimum downtime allocated for software upgrade in the 24/7 productions running environments.
We have customers using the same MES with its settings across 20 or even 50 locations globally. Without such a tool, will often worry about the configurations. With multiple sites across the world, it's very important that both the local and the global settings are configured well. This involves the tedious process of manual checks and verification. Any unintended configuration may cause rework of the upgrade process or unintended downtime extension, or sometimes even scrap units in the worst case.
Yes, these are all translate to business losses. The manual software upgrade checkings and automations are not commonly included as an important features for an MES because usually big updates like this happens maybe once a year or twice a year and used by only limited key user. So automated such a configurations often get lower priority in software developments.
We hear this from our customer. That's why we've developed the NGC tool to allow users to define their own global defaults as well as the local settings and set those priorities accordingly. Users will be in control, and this will help to ensure getting consistent variable values in your settings.
Okay, thank you both for sharing the overall picture. I was still wondering if you could share more via maybe a demo video or show us via a diagram, if you could explain how the concept works.
Sure, let me show you through a diagram we prepared. Over here, this is the first diagram. Let's have a look at the NGC variable SergenDB user with the default value Sergen as the default DB schema. This is the default, and just we'll take it as an example. Now let's say my manufacturing site is based in Malaysia and I do not have any existing local configuration settings. So in this case, during a system update, I'll use the values Sergen, which comes from the default configuration settings. However, if my site in Malaysia wants to use a deviating local configuration setting for it, then these local settings will override the default values. In this example, in the diagram, the value mySearch will override the default value Sergen when substituting the NGC variable SergenDBUser. Basically, it all just means that as soon as I have a local setting, they will always override the default settings. Now to slide 2. Well, but things can get complicated when you have more than one local setting, doesn't it? In this case, defining own configured settings and setting the priorities is not just important, but comes in handy and makes all the difference. This diagram kind of shows the potential complexities of reality. To illustrate, many times manufacturing execution systems contains lots of modules. During upgrades, many of these modules will be affected. So, how do you ensure all these settings will be configured properly to deal with such a huge and complex upgrade? This is when NGC comes into the picture and ensures the effective configuration based on priority will be executed to tackle this complex issue. As users, you can set these settings based on scenario and criteria to ensure that these upgrades do not override the unintended information. For example, the surgeon test NGC properties has the highest priority. If a variable isn't found there, then NGC will search at surgeon NGC properties at a set at the second highest priority. Similarly, if the variable isn't available for both the first priorities, then the tool will look into common NGC properties. As explained earlier, there is a default file that will be overwritten if there is local configuration. Hence, this default configuration will be used if all the other three priority properties are not used.
Thank you, Bernie, for explaining this. On the diagram, I do see the word surgeon a lot. From my understanding, Lineworks Surgeon is one of our products, which is an ID number generator solution. Does this mean NGC can only work with this surgeon product?
Janice, this is a good question. Actually, the answer is no. So the NGC is not just work for Lineworks surgeons. This capability is available for all the Lineworks module as well.
And for our customers who already have Lineworks Surgeon or the other modules, all they need to do is to create the local NGC properties file, that's all. It's a wee one-time effort to define the local settings. As a summary, before NGC, the local configuration had to be made deep down in the installation tree of each and every new build version of each camLine module installed. This was tedious and, more importantly, as outlined earlier, error-prone. With NGC, all the adjustments for a local installation are kept in a separate directory. This comes handy, or better said, is also the prerequisite to distribute the Lineworks Surgeon installation from one corporate place, eventually version controlled, to several production sites. All you need is the Surgeon software, the local NGC settings, and the tiny yet very smart NGC tool.
All right, that's really good to know. Thank you both for the insightful sharing and your expertise.
Yeah. There will be more technology updates to be shared in this coming user group meeting.
That's right. We'll leave the link in the post for everyone, so feel free to register for the event and stay tuned for more updates. Thank you, everyone.